Solving the Strategic Acquirer Puzzle, the acronym IPG. I'm Arthur Petropoulos, Managing Partner here at Hillview Partners. We're a middle market, lower middle market, M&A and capital advisory firm helping companies generating $1 million to $10 million pre-tax earnings, sell their companies, secure capital. And over this past decade, we've done over $1 billion of transactions. So in today's video, we want to discuss strategic acquirers in particular. And so we would say about 40% of all transactions that we represent sell to strategic acquirers, that being private companies that operate in the space. About 40% of the transactions that we work on sell or exit to private equity firms, whether that's as a new platform or as a bolt-on or tuck-in into an existing platform company. And about 20% of the companies we work on sell to other participants, whether it's family offices, search funds, independent sponsors, and other institutional and high net worth types of acquirers. And so relative to strategic acquirers, we want to talk about the acronym that's really the crux of finding the optimal strategic acquirer for a business. So let's dig in. The letter I represents industry. And so when we say industry, we say high-level industry, niche, sub-niche. So for a particular industry, an example that we chatted on in previous videos, let's say it's a distribution company for clean room supplies that sells into the pharmaceutical industry. So when we look at industry, we say high-level industry is healthcare, life sciences, pharmaceutical, very broadly. Sub-niche into pharmaceutical companies. If you can get into a third tier of distribution companies within that space, you've got a very well-defined industry. So in this situation, we say life sciences, healthcare, medical, general, sub-niche, pharmaceutical, sub-niche, supplies distribution. That covers industry. And so when you're looking to be the missing puzzle piece to a strategic acquirer, when you're trying to solve that puzzle by being that opportunity, first you really want to dig into the industry and at a granular level, I like to say 3 levels deep. Next, the letter P stands for product. And so think of this broadly as product, service, offering, whatever it is that the company sells, does, or undertakes on behalf of its clients. Why do people give it money? What does it give them in return? And so in this example, the company distributes supplies that are utilized in clean rooms. And so certain plastics, kits, other types of assemblies that are ultimately utilized in the manufacturing of pharmaceuticals, that are ultimately utilized in the process of manufacturing pharmaceuticals, but must be of certain standards, qualities, compliance to be utilized in clean rooms. That's an environment where there has to be a minimal amount of particles to not pollute what they are manufacturing. And so when we think of product, we say, okay, what is the specific offering of theirs? And so in this case, it's not just the supplying of the products or the distribution of the products, but it's also in many ways kitting, packaging, creating things that are more easily off the shelf usable for the end client. And so in this situation, if we're looking for a strategic acquirer, we want to look at a few different variables. The simplest one is just who's doing the same thing. Next, who's doing something complementary. And so maybe it's not the same exact type of kitting. Maybe it's not kitting of the same stuff. Maybe it's something that's often bought in conjunction with someone else's products. Next is an extension. And so perhaps you do up to a certain grade or certain quality of a certain product. Maybe there's ability to go more upstream in terms of the product quality, in terms of the uniqueness of it, in terms of something nuanced, but finding complementary product, service, or offerings as well, but extending the services or products as well. So notice what we didn't say is different necessarily. And so you really want to think of product, service, or offering as this kind of nucleus of different things swirling around. And if it has surface area where your particular product, service, or offering would be a natural extension, where the circle would just expand, where it's not just a dot way outside of the circle, that's where you really find that product, service, or offering fit or strategic synergy, if you will. So lastly is geography. And this doesn't mean that the company needs to be in the same geography, but you should know what geography your company operates in. And it doesn't necessarily just mean where is the office, where is the facility, but who are you serving, into what submarket? And so if you think of pharmaceuticals and let's just say life sciences in general, there are certain hubs where you might say, okay, there's the Midwest and Minnesota, there's Tennessee, there's Boston, there's LA. And so oftentimes what you'll see in industries is that certain companies have a real penetration and stronghold in certain geographies. And so if your company either provides them further strength within their core geographies, or it provides them access to a geography that they do not have, again, looking at complementary, looking at adjacent, looking at extensions, natural progression, places where they would probably try to plant a flag and build something around. If they can buy it versus build it, as we've discussed in other videos, that's a huge plus as well. And so when we're looking at a potential exit of a company to a strategic acquirer, and in many cases they can be the optimal counterparties, keep the acronym in mind of IPG. Industry, Who do they serve? Who do they serve within who they serve, right? 3 levels. The deeper you can dive there, the more specific you can be about your company, the more specific you can be about the potential acquirer, and see how these things fit together. P, product. Product, service, or offering. What is it precisely that you are doing? What is it that you are supplying? What is the product, service, or offering that someone else is doing? Where do they have gaps? Where could you fill those gaps? Where can you help them extend? Where can you help them expand or become more comprehensive? And finally is geography. Again, it could be because it's the same geography. It can be because it's a market that they have not penetrated that you provide access to. But in either case, define it very well in your company, understand it very well for the potential strategic acquirers, because this is what helps the narrative. Really, that's the conclusion of this, and we've pounded the drum many times, but the idea of being the missing puzzle piece, being the buy versus build situation for a strategic acquirer, and the core variables to triangulate in any of that is industry, product, geography. If you can define that, crystallize that for your company, if you can define that for all of the prospective companies that you're going to present the company to, you can really make the case as to why this company is valuable, why it's important, why someone should pay a meaningful amount of attention to it. And in our business, where we're representing companies generating 1 to 10 million in EBITDA, so you say $1 to $100 million situations, oftentimes 5 to 25s, oftentimes 20 to 50s, but particularly if you have a 10, 15, $20 million business and you're presenting it to a multi-billion-dollar company, then the fundamentals alone are not going to be substantial enough for them to say, yes, we should direct all of our attention here. Yes, we should deploy meaningful resources here, because the numbers alone aren't going to move the needle. And therefore, what we've been successful at doing, and what is incredibly important in representing companies, is showing how the needle is going to be moved because of things other than purely just the EBITDA generation of the company. We always define it as fundamentals, access, capabilities. What does that melt down to even further? Industry, product, geography. Define those, understand where there are gaps, and that's where the conversation really catches traction. So that's the thought for today. Hope the week's getting off to a good start for everyone. Keep pushing forward. God bless. See everyone next time.